Listen, I need to tell you something. If you are 40 years old and broke, or 50 and struggling, or 60 and panicking about retirement, you need to hear every word I am about to say, because I've seen this pattern for 95 years. People hit their 40s and suddenly realize they're behind, way behind, no savings, no investments, living paycheck to paycheck, and they think it is too late. They think the game is over. They think wealth is for other people who started younger, had more money, got luckier. They're wrong, dead wrong. And I am going to prove it to you right now. I am 95 years old. I built over $100 billion in wealth. And here is what most people don't know. The most important wealth building years of my life weren't my 20s or 30s. They were my 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, because wealth doesn't care when you start. It cares that you start, and more importantly, that you do it right. I've seen people start at 20 and fail. I've seen people start at 50 and become millionaires. The difference isn't age. It is strategy, it is discipline, it is making the right moves. Starting right now, today, this moment. So if you are 40 and broke or anywhere close to it, don't turn off this video. Don't tell yourself it is too late, because what I am about to share with you can transform the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life. These aren't theories. This is exactly what works. What has always worked, what will work for you if you commit to it. Let's begin. The first thing you need to understand. If you are starting late, time is your enemy and your friend. Let me explain that paradox. When you are 40 and broke, you don't have 40 years until retirement like a 20-year. Old as you have 25 years, maybe 30, if you work longer. That is your enemy. Less time means less compounding, but here is where it becomes your friend. You are also at your peak earning years, or also at your peak earning years, a 40-year. Old typically makes more than a 20-year. Old, you have experience, skills, established careers. That means you can invest more, save more, contribute more than younger people can. You might have less time, but you have more earning power. Use it. Here is the math that will save you. If you are 40 and invest $500 a month at 10% returns for 25 years, you'll have $650,000 at 65. Not rich maybe, but not broke either. That is a retirement. That is security. That is options. But here's where it gets interesting. If you can invest $1,000 a month, same timeline, same returns, you end up with $1.3 million. And if you are really serious, if you go aggressive and invest $1,500 a month, you are looking at almost $2 million at 40 years old, starting from zero. That is not a fantasy. That is compound interest. That is math. That is reality if you commit to it. I hear people say, Warren, I can't invest $500 or $1,000 a month. I am broke. Bills are tight. There is nothing left. And I tell them, then you are living wrong, because if you can't find money to invest, you won't ever build wealth, period. It doesn't matter if you make $50,000 or $500,000 a year. If you spend everything, you'll stay broke forever. So the first step isn't finding more money to invest. It is spending less money on everything else. Cut ruthlessly. Live like you make half what you actually make, and invest the difference. Second thing you need to understand, debt will kill you, especially at 40. If you are broke at 40, you probably have debt. Credit cards, car loans, maybe student loans still, and that debt is charging you 15, 20, 25% interest every single year. You cannot build wealth while paying those rates. Impossible. I don't care how good your investments are. If your debt costs 20% and your investments make 10%, you are losing 10% every year. You are going backwards. So here is what you do. Before you invest a single dollar, pay off high interest debt. All of it, credit cards first, personal loans next, car loans. If the rate is high, this isn't fun, this isn't exciting. It won't make you feel wealthy, but it is the foundation. You cannot build a house on quicksand, and debt is financial quicksand. It pulls you down while you try to climb up. I've never carried credit card debt in my life. Never. I pay cash for everything. If I can't afford it with cash, I don't buy it. I am worth over $100 billion. If I don't need to borrow money at 20% interest, You certainly don't get out of debt. Stay out of debt. It is non-negotiable if you want wealth. Third thing, invest in yourself first. You are 40 years old. You have 25 years of earnings ahead of you, maybe more. That is your biggest asset, not your house, not your car, not some investment, your ability to earn your skills, your knowledge. If you can increase your income by even 10 or 20%, that is life-changing money over 20. A $50,000 earner who becomes a $60,000 earner adds $250,000 in total earnings over 25 years before investing returns. That is $250,000 from one raise, one promotion, one new skill. So invest in yourself, take courses, learn new skills, get certifications, switch careers if you need to. At 40, you are not too old to reinvent yourself. You are at the perfect age, old enough to know what you are doing, young enough to have decades to profit from it. I've always believed the best investment you can make is in your own abilities. Nobody can tax it away, nobody can steal it, and it pays dividends for life. Fourth thing about starting at 4, you cannot afford expensive mistakes at 20-year. Old who loses money has 40 years to recover a 40-year. Old who loses money has 25 years. That is a huge difference. So you need to be more conservative, more careful, more strategic than younger. Invest stores. This doesn't mean don't invest. It means invest smart, no gambling, no crypto speculation, no hot stock tips, no get-rich-quick schemes. None of it adheres what you do instead. Low-cost index funds, specifically S&P 500 index funds. That is 500 of America's largest companies. You own a piece of all of them. Diversified, stable, proven. The S&P 500 has returned about 10% annually for decades. Not every year. Some years it is down, some years it is up big, but over time, 10% average. And 10% compounded over 25 years turns every dollar into $10. Every 10,000 into 100,000. Every 100,000 into a million. That is not speculation. That is history. I've recommended index funds for years. For most people, it is the best investment they'll ever make. Better than trying to pick individual stocks, better than paying high fees to fund managers, better than chasing trends, just consistent, boring, reliable returns. That is what builds wealth at 40. Not excitement, consistency. Fifth thing, emergency fund before investments. I know this sounds backwards. You are behind on retirement, and I am telling you to keep cash instead of investing it. But listen, if you are 40 and broke, you probably don't have savings. So the first market downturn, the first car repair, the first medical bill, you'll panic. You'll sell investments at a loss to cover emergencies, or worse, you'll go back to that credit card debt. Either way, you've destroyed your wealth building plan. So before you invest aggressively, build an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash, in a high-yield savings account. Accessible, safe, boring. This isn't money that will make you rich. It is money that keeps you from going broke. It is insurance against bad luck, bad timing, bad circumstances. Once you have this cushion, you can invest aggressively without fear because, you are covered for emergencies. You won't need to sell stocks when the market crashes. You can hold through downturns. That is when real wealth is built by those who can afford to wait. Sixth thing about being 40 and broke, you need to maximize every tax advantage. You are playing catch up. You can't waste money on taxes you don't have to pay. So use retirement account. If your employer offers a 401k with a match, contribute at least enough to get the full match. That is free money. If they match 50 cents on every dollar up to 6% of your salary, and you are not contributing 6%, you are throwing away free money. That is insane, beyond the match. Max out contributions if possible. In 2025, you can contribute $23,000 a year to a 401k. If you are 50 or older, you can add another $7,500 in catch-up contributions. That is $30,500 per year tax defer going without tax drag. That adds up enormously over 15 or 20 years. Same with IRAs, max amounts $700 per year or $8,000 if you are 50 plus. Every dollar you put in these accounts grows tax-free or tax deferred. That is massive over time. Seventh thing, cut housing costs. I know you are 40. You probably want a nice house, big yard, good neighborhood, impressive to friends, but here is the truth. Your house is either building your wealth or destroying it. And for most 40-year-olds who are broke, it is destroying it. They bought too much house. They're house poor. All their money goes to mortgage, property tax, insurance, maintenance, nothing left to invest. I bought my house in 1958 for $31,500. I still live there. I could have upgraded 1,000 times. I could afford any house in the world, but why? My house is comfortable. It is paid off. It costs almost nothing to maintain. And because I kept housing cheap, I had money to invest. That is what built my wealth, not my house, my investments. Your house should be a place to live, not a wealth destroyer. If your housing costs are eating more than 25% of your gross income, you are in trouble. Downsize. Move somewhere cheaper. Do whatever it takes to free up money for investing. Eighth thing, no car payments ever. I've never bought a new car. I drive used cars until they die. People think it is because I am cheap. I am not cheap. I am smart. A new car loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. 20% gone in minutes. Then over 5 years, it loses 60% total. You are paying $40,000 for something that becomes $16,000. If you financed it, you paid even more because of interest. Meanwhile, a 5-year-old used car that is already depreciated 60%, you buy that for $16,000. It still has years of life left. It gets you to work just as well as the new one, but it costs you $24,000 less. That $24,000 invested at 10% for 20 years becomes $165,000 from one car decision. So if you are 40 and broke and have a car payment, sell the car, buy something cheaper. With cash, invest the payment. You are no longer making this alone, could fund your retirement. Say ninth thing about starting at 40, Social Security won't save you. I hear people say they'll rely on Social Security. That is financial suicide. Social Security was designed to supplement retirement income, not be retirement income. The average Social Security check is about $1,800 a month, $21,600 a year. Try living on that. It is poverty, maybe not starvation, but poverty, no travel, no comfort, no security, just scraping by until you die. You need more. And the only way to get more is to save and invest yourself. Social Security should be 15 or 20% of your retirement income. The rest comes from your investments, your 401k, your IRA, your taxable accounts. If you are counting on Social Security to carry you, you are planning to be poor. Don't do that. Take control. Build your own retirement. Let Social Security be a nice bonus, not your survival. 10th thing, work longer than you plan. I know nobody wants to hear this. Everyone dreams of retiring at 62 or 65, spending their golden years traveling, relaxing, enjoying life. But if you are 40 and broke, that might not be realistic, and that is okay. Working until 70 instead of 65 gives you 5 more years of earning, 5 more years of investing, 5 more years of compound growth, and 5 fewer years of withdrawals. The math is an or mess. Plus, if you delay Social Security until 70, your benefit increases by about 76% compared to taking it at 62%. That is huge. That is the difference between financial stress and financial comfort. I am 95 and still working. Not because I have to, because I want to. Work keeps you sharp, engaged, purposeful. Don't be in such a hurry to quit, especially if quitting means being broke. 11th thing, forget about leaving an inheritance. I know that sounds harsh, but if you are 40 and broke, your job isn't to leave money to your kid. Your job is to not be a burden to your kids, to not need their financial help in your 80s. That is the inheritance independence. Security, not needing to move in with them or ask them for money. If you build enough wealth to leave something behind, great, but that is not the goal. The goal is funding your own retirement so you can live with dignity. I am giving away 99% of my wealth to charity. My kids aren't getting billions. They're getting enough to do anything, but not enough to do nothing. That is my philosophy. Your kids don't need your money. They need you to take care of yourself. So focus on that. Build your nest egg, fund your retirement, die with enough left over to bury you. Anything beyond that is bonus. Final thing about being 40 and broke, start today. Not tomorrow, not next month, not after you pay off this one thing or buy that one thing today. Right now, this moment, because every day you wait is a day of compounding, you lose forever. $1 invested today at 10% becomes $17.3. $1 invested next year becomes $15.5. You just lost $1.5 by waiting 1 year. Multiply that across thousands of dollars over years of delay, and you've lost tens of thousands in wealth just from waiting. I started investing seriously in my 30s and 40s. That is when things really took off, not because the investments were different, because the amounts were bigger and the time was still long enough. You have the same opportunity. 25 years from 40 to 65 is plenty of time to build real wealth, enough to retire comfortably, enough to live well, enough to die with dignity, but only if you start now. So here is what you do. Today, this afternoon, this evening, first calculate your net worth assets, minus debts, face the number even if it is negative, especially if it is negative. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. Second, make a budget, know exactly where every dollar goes cut, everything that doesn't build wealth or bring genuine joy. Third, pay off high interest debt as fast as humanly possible. Fourth, build your emergency fund to 3 months of expenses. Fifth, start investing, even if it is just $100 a month. To start, just start, open a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, or increase your 401k contribution by a low-cost SP 500 index fund. Set it to automatic. Forget about it. Let it grow every month. Invest more. As your income grows, as your debt shrinks, as your expenses drop, invest the difference. Every dollar you free up goes to investments, not lifestyle upgrades, not bigger houses or nicer cars. Investments. This is how you go from broke at 40 to wealthy at 65. Will you be a billionaire? Probably not. Will you be comfortable? Absolutely. Will you be secure? Yes. Will you be able to retire with dignity? Yes. Will you stress about money every day? Number, that is what 25 years of disciplined investing buys you. Not luxury necessarily, but freedom, security, options, peace of mind. I am 95 years old. I've seen people start from nothing and build fortunes. I've seen people inherit fortunes and lose everything. Wealth isn't about where you start. It is about what you do next. If you are 40 and broke, you've made mistakes. We all have. I've made huge mistakes, lost money, made bad investments, wasted time. But mistakes only matter if you don't learn from them, if you don't change. Today is your line in the sand. Today is when you decide that being broke at 40 doesn't mean being broke at 65. That starting late doesn't mean finishing poor, that you are going to do whatever it takes, make whatever sacrifices necessary, change whatever habits need changing to build wealth over the next 25 years. It won't be easy. It will require discipline. It will require you to live differently than your friends, to drive older cars, to live in smaller houses, to skip expensive vacations, to say no when others say yes. But in 25 years, those friends will still be broke, still working, still stressed about money, and you'll be free, financially secure, able to retire or keep working by choice, not necessity. That is the difference. That is what the next 25 years of discipline buys you. And freedom is worth any sacrifice, any discipline, any temporary discomfort. So stop making excuses. Stop saying it is too late. Stop blaming your past and start building your future right now. Today, because if you are 40 and broke and you don't change, you'll be 65 and broke. And that is a tragedy you can prevent. You have time, you have earning power, you have opportunity. Use it, all of it. Starting immediately, you're 65. Your old self is counting on you. Don't let them down.